Hey everybody, and welcome back to another video. This week we are going to review week 2 of the NFL and our tools here and what went well, what didn't go so well. We'll go position by position. I'll go through decisions I made with my lineups and maybe what we could look at for process improvement, how we build those lineups and construct them to finish atop those tournaments. Reminder in the description, this is a simulator model that can be found on my Patreon page. Only $15 a month. Included in that price is tiered rankings along with a premium article where we go position by position and identify the best tournament plays each week. Guys that are projection simulated scores relative to their ownership, who's looking to boom each week. So here I've got this pulled up. Looks a little bit cleaner. We've put some scaling on here to really help those plays pop. Let's start out with the quarterbacks here. So as a reminder, if you watched the other video, up here we got players' percentages through 500 simulations. Percentage of the time that they are going to hit 2 times their salary value. So for example, if we're looking at Baker Mayfield, $7,100. This is FanDuel. We do FanDuel and DraftKings. Percentage of the time that he's going to get about 15, 16 fantasy points. 3 times. Percentage of the time he's going to go over 20. Percentage of the time he's going to get up closer to 30. And so really what we're looking at for quarterbacks, you think about what a good quarterback score would be, especially when it comes to winning GPPs. You really want guys that are going to go 4 or 5x if we're looking at taking down a GPP. But for accuracy, with quarterbacks, I really like to look at this 3x column. And for a lot of these guys, this is in the 6-7K range. This is getting up over 20 fantasy points. So this week looks like we had Josh Allen kind of jumping off the board, Kyler Murray, Russell Wilson. These guys had big weeks. Kyler Murray once again, 5 total touchdowns. And then we saw the high-scoring shootout in the Seahawks-Titans game. Wilson throwing bombs to the end zone as usual. A lot of Tyler Lockett this year. I have DK Metcalf on my season-long team, and that hasn't been a lot of fun so far. Lockett's been sniping a lot of those big plays. I did play a fair share of Russell Wilson, which was good. I paired him up with, I put DK Metcalf in too many of my lines, so that kind of hurt. It's about getting the right combination, but and we'll have ownership as we get closer to the end of each week. At this point, we didn't have it. But let's move on. And really the way that I would recommend using this, and ownership is one of the most misunderstood concepts in daily fantasy sports. If you're a beginner, you hear a lot about you wanting your lineups to be different, right? For me, for a long time, I just tried to cram in the lowest owned guys that looked like they had some decent upside, and that's not really the way to do it. And then you look at these lineups that win tournaments, they're not necessarily just a bunch of single-digit owned plays. Sometimes they are, but a lot of times it's about leverage. So, for example, let's look at Chase Edmonds and Chris Carson. We don't have the ownership off to the side here. We didn't have anybody on Patreon that we were providing this for at the time. We got this out too late last week. But this week it is available. It will be available. DraftKings, FanDuel, all this ownership off to the side. So let's say Chase Edmonds was 15% owned. So we got 47% minus 15. That number would be 32, right? Chris Carson, say he's 20% owned. 58 minus 20, that's 48. No, sorry, 38. That 38's higher than 32. Chris Carson, although he's higher owned, still the better play because of the discrepancy between his simulations and his ownership. And this really only works if we're comparing guys of similar salary. Well, that's not the only way it works. That's the best way to go about making those decisions, is if you compare guys that are similar in salary. So if we're looking at Alvin Kamara, 8,800, Dalvin Cook down here at 9,200. They grade out pretty similar in the 2X column, but Kamara, and this didn't pan out. He didn't do a whole lot this last week, but he did look to grade out to hit that 3X more often than Dalvin Cook. So regardless of the ownership, which I believe are pretty similar on these two guys, I would have rostered Kamara. And sometimes this is going to work. Sometimes, there is a lot of variance in football. So especially at the wide receiver position, which we'll get into. This simulator, this tool was wildly accurate when it came to the receivers this last week, though, and I'll point out some of that and why this is such a great tool to have. But some of the running backs that really jumped off the page here, Najee Harris, and he did have a great day. He went nuts. And down here, Darrell Henderson Jr. They were the two guys that our sim model loved the most. And if you had both of those guys with a Russell Wilson and a Tyler Lockett, you probably made quite a bit of money this last week. So let's hop over to the wide receiver page. Guys that really jumped off the page here. Metcalf, not the best example to start out. I mean, if you look at what Kyler Murray and the Cardinals did to Tennessee the week before, you would have thought, without even looking at this, yeah, Metcalf could go nuts here. Lockett, and I mentioned that in my other video. But yeah, Lockett still across the board. That deep dark green, that's what we're looking for. Robert Woods, good week. Cooper Kupp, monster week. CeeDee Lamb, good week. Let's see who else we got here. Claypool, a big play, kind of saved Claypool this week. But as you can see in this 3X column, he looked like a real solid play. But yeah, a big catch towards the end of the game, kind of salvaged his day. But wouldn't have been a bad play at 5,900, especially over on FanDuel, where you have more salary to work with. Tight end tab. George Kittle. Noah Fant, big week. Big week. Higbee didn't pan out. I had my reservations about him, though. Whenever the entire field is on a guy, it kind of scares me off. And then Gronk. I had a little bit of Gronk, which helped me out. Yeah. This is the simulator model. This is how everything looked, how everything graded out and what we were working with. Getting that right combination is tricky, but if you're making a lot of lineups and you're using this tool, you're definitely going to have some lineups go deep into the money. Like I said before, link in the description over to the Patreon page. $15 a month. You get this tool. You get tiered rankings, ownership projections, premium article. Definitely recommend that. I don't understand paying $100 a month like some of these big DFS hubs charge when you can find something just as valuable, in my opinion, and even a more forward way of thinking in DFS than just a mean projection, where you can get simulations with ownership. My content's dropping regularly. I will have another video as the week goes on, talking about week 3, and we won't have the full sim pulled up, but we'll have some highlights, guys that are jumping out and why, and some core plays for you. And yeah, thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next one.